Hi, guys. Welcome to Season 5, Episode 3 of HR Nightmares. I'm really excited that y'all joined me here today. And thank you for listening and tuning into Season 5. Please make sure you're writing in. We love it when people send us write-ins so we can put any guests that we have on the spot, and we can also debate and give you free advice as senior HR leaders. We are HR consultants. That's why we kind of do this podcast. We like to share our advice and share our personalities with the world. If you need an HR consultant, we love to be yours. But for now, just call this free advice that's out on the internet. Today, we're going to be talking about the concept of, is HR going extinct? Yeah, I
Let's
know.
hope not.
So you guys sent me a couple of interesting articles, and I want to start with the article, Amy, that you sent, which was an article about SHRM. And we've kind of touched on this like in the last couple episodes. I can't remember when. But Johnny Taylor, the CEO of the largest HR association organization on the planet, basically stood up in front of a bunch of screens of like humanoid robots hammering away on keyboards and told the audience at SHRM National Conference that HR is facing extinction, and that if we don't kind of get our act together, that and prove our ROI or prove ROI on employees that we support, that we can basically kiss our jobs goodbye. Which is funny because we talked last time, just for a second, about Bolt firing their whole people ops team because they were causing a bunch of friction. But then we found out through Reddit or whatever that they just hired back different people. So
they hired a new HR team. They didn't get rid of HR, just the actual people and humans that were doing the job.
Yeah. So like, let's start with the concept of like HR being extinct. The furthest on the spectrum of like not being extinct to being extinct is like firing everybody on the spot like Bolt did. Any thoughts on what they've just done?
That was dumb, and it was also exciting that they had to hire everyone back. Because I think you absolutely do need HR. It probably needs to be repositioned, especially with everything going on with technology. But the people, as you say, are peopling, and we definitely need to have somebody in the roles to kind of help them along the way of their path. In their careers.
And the HR managers from hell, this is exactly why Bolt got rid of their people ops team.
Yeah.
They're causing more friction. So like, what does it look like when an HR person, it doesn't mean all HR people suck or HR departments suck. It means you got the wrong HR leader and you've got the wrong probably people team. But like, what does a HR manager from hell that's causing friction like look like?
Oh my gosh.
I mean, we've had the episodes on kind of HR leaders from hell. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what division you're in. There's bad people across all orgs and all jobs. And like in reading a little bit more into the backstory of Bolt, that was such a headline. And it's probably because, again, it showed up in our algorithm. We're HR people. We get pushed kind of that content. And then I went and finally read a little bit more into the backstory, and I'm no expert on this company, but it sounds like, they went from 1,000 employees. They lost all their evaluation. They lost a lot of money. They had to reduce, and they were down to, 100, couple hundred employees. I mean, I imagine they had done so many iterations of layoffs and strategy, and who knows what was happening during that whole time and all of their HR folks. That's a lot of change to drop the org over the span of a few years and cut it, 90% or whatnot. And I couldn't imagine being the HR person in that position, trying to facilitate all those things and still save face to the people that you're keeping, right? So sometimes I think we put a lot of those business changes onto HR, and we again, like, we have to be the partners in all of those changes. Like, we can't carry the emotional brunt for the organization every time something happens over and over.
What's hilarious is like, if they blamed and that was the friction, maybe they didn't want to fire more people or something, or maybe they just got rid of the right people and we're only left with the wrong people through this whole big transformation and shrinking the org or whatever. But it is a mismanagement of a business when you're going to have to shrink from 1,000 to 100 people. I mean, that's a business leader's mismanagement of the business and like putting good business cases every time you do a new hire. Like you see it, like people get a capital investment, they just grow for the sake of growing, hire as many humans, there's redundancies and efficiencies, like forget AI. Like a lot of companies get caught in this trap where they got to spend the money, spend the cash. And that's mismanagement.
Well, my guess is, we know long enough and we've been with enough companies and seen enough growth that usually your HR folks are kind of the first one that's like, let's think this through before we add that new position. Yeah. And then we get a lot of pushback from the business leader of like, ugh, here's HR again, asking us questions, creating friction. They won't let us just hire 12 more people when we don't necessarily have work for them to do for more than 12 months. Yeah, and it's like, okay, we don't know. Maybe that's what was happening and that's what was causing friction, and business leaders didn't like being challenged on some of those decisions. And then same on the layoffs, when all of a sudden we got to slash the budget in half, and that means laying off people. It's the highest cost, right? Maybe HR was like, we got to think this one through. I mean, I know that's how I always am, and that's where I get the number one amount of pushback from any leaders, because I'm a little slower, more methodical, because I'm like, these are people's lives at the end of the day, and I'm all about making business decisions. I typically am a little business first mindset, but I'm like, these are humans. We at least owe it to like think about it a little bit.
Yeah, I feel the same way with like slow and steady growth, and I oftentimes think that they don't do a lot of the workforce planning to see what they really have on the table. Oops, my new microphone. What they have on the table, but what they have on the table versus what their needs are, right? And so you can always adapt a job. It doesn't have to be set in stone for the lifespan of the person in that role. And I do think that they don't spend enough time of that strategy of just taking what they have rather than growing and giving a little piece to this person, redesigning kind of the workforce.
Who do you think Johnny Taylor was talking to? Because I feel like my entire life and career in HR, like my leaders who mentored me and brought me on this journey have always taught me to be business minded first. Agreed. And I realized that it's like, we've talked about this, right? Like you straddle employer first, but employee close second, and looking out for the human beings. And I'm like, who is he talking to? Just like terrible frontline.
Yeah, but like, you've been to one of those SHRM. When's the last time you went to one of those SHRM conferences?
I've never been. I honestly have never been.
Never.
Well, I've been, and there's a lot of people in those conferences that he's talking to. But you're right. I think we've had different experiences. And like from the corporate background of mine too, HR was a valued asset in that organization. I'm sure that hasn't changed in the 5 years that I have not been there, because they were well-respected leaders. A lot of times we took business leaders from the business side and moved them into HR because they understood the business and what was needed from the people function. And that was a really big career path. So yeah, I didn't see that HR was this being that people wanted to get rid of or this highly administrative function. Sure, did we have people that their job was specifically in the HR admin, payroll, benefits, HR service center? Those were the administrative functions, but we had a whole group of business partners, and our title was HR business partner, and that's what we did. And it is interesting because, there was this wide net cast on like, HR will be extinct, but then there's so many great folks that we encounter that work in HR and are great people leaders and understand the business side and want a balance of both things. And we do right by the people while still maintaining the bottom line of the business. And that can be done. But we're not also in 100% of control of everything. We're a partner to those things. So sometimes I'm like, is that putting a little bit too much onto, again, the weight that HR should carry in organizations?
I think it has a lot to do with training, though, too. Especially, we talked in one of our recent episodes about maybe the first job is dying away.
Yeah.
And so it's like, so maybe you have somebody in that role at Bolt who had to do mass layoffs. I think it's a really skilled and seasoned person that can do a mass layoff. I don't think that everyone
big project management.
Yeah, and it really is. It's more of a precision type of. We execute on a precision basis for that. And I just wonder if maybe that's part of it. Maybe maybe we aren't training the people up behind us in like the fundamentals so that then they can go ahead and do these bigger projects.
Well, it's pretty interesting to me. So he went out and he interviewed 92. This is the CEO of SHRM, goes out and interviews 92 Fortune 500 CEOs and asks them, do you value the HR function? Do you sort of value? It was something along these lines, sort of value, and then could you do without them? And it was like a third of the 92 said they could do without them, which that was interesting.
Was shocking to me,
actually. That was interesting to me because I would think that a bigger company that's probably invested, like a Fortune 500 company, okay, you're probably global, you probably have, I don't know, 300 or 400 HR functional folks, like from special centralized service centers to HR business partners, managers, directors around the world. Like they are Fortune 500 companies. They probably all look pretty similar. You know what I mean? From a structure standpoint. So when I first read the article you sent, I thought it was mainly focused at like smaller business HR folks that maybe don't know, they kind of inherited the role or whatever and don't know how to be strategic and good business partners. But then I read that and I was like, uh-oh.
I think it goes to show, I think what he was trying to say in some points of that article too was that HR needs to get control of the narrative around what we actually do and the value and the impact we make. And I think because so often we see ourselves as a support function of the business, we're not necessarily the most outward about all of our contributions, right? And I saw that a lot in different organizations. Like it felt a certain way to speak like, here's all the things we have done for the organization. And without us, you would not be in this place. But I think he was basically calling upon our profession to get a little bit more outward about what the value actually is. Because I would challenge any of those CEOs, get rid of your whole HR department today. And see how tomorrow goes. See how tomorrow goes. Right. Who's going to hire? Who's going to train? Who's going to develop? Who's going to do compensation? Who's going to be your benefits person? Right. Who's going to run payroll? Right? Those are all things that fall under HR as an organization. So I'm like, if anyone thinks they could do without, we see that from small businesses that have 10 people and they find great value in having us be on board for 8 hours a month even because they would not know how to do all of those different things, right? And those are owners that have 10 employees and they still manage to see a lot of value from the things we bring forth. And you know, in an organization
if you're struggling to do it, if you're struggling to like tell your owner or CEO like how you're providing value, I would start with the people be people and stuff.
Right.
Because there is no CFO or CEO that wants to focus on employee relations issues and whether or not Beth and Lisa are fighting in the break room every day and they don't want to work together and put me on a different shift. And like, there's not a CEO that's trying to deal with that. So like if you can like hone in on one thing, start with the employee relations piece of your job and all the incidents, all the emails, all the investigations, all the things, the people things that you're dealing with and mediating, like I would start there.
And putting a value on what that is instead of just saying like, here's all the people stuff. Because we all know that the business leaders would like to just be like, don't entertain it. We don't even want to deal with it. It's like, well, that's not the way it works, unfortunately. Like, I know you don't want to deal with it, but it still exists whether you want to deal with it or not. So it's like, get out of the minutia of it all and start saying, this is how much this would cost you if we don't stop it while it's small and while it's a fight in the lunchroom. If it went to some kind of legal issue, this is how much it would cost. And so this is the dollar amount behind it. This is the energy. This is the attention it takes away from the work. This is the PR nightmare that it could be, right? Yeah. These are the things that because we're here and managing things on a day-to-day basis, we're stopping all of that from happening.
We've got to be better storytellers and tell what we are actually doing. And I find it interesting, some of the work that we do as consultants. Some of our clients in the past, 6 years that we've been doing this, have looked at HR in a very kind of old school way, very personnel, very administrative. And those people we don't really tend to keep as clients that long because they don't think that there's a need. But the people that really are leaning into us, I mean, we're at almost every single meeting for every single decision, not just HR decisions, you know?
I can't tell you how many times I say like, that's not my decision to make. And
Yeah.
you're like, but we need your input. It's like
but
I gave you my input, and now it's on you, right? Like you've got to make the decision. This is my input. But yeah, you're right. Like our clients that really get it and they see the value and they're using us for be those strategic partners. Like we're sitting in executive leadership meetings, and those are planned around our day of the week that we're kind of with your organization. Nice. And that's really when it works best, is utilizing an HR person for those. So sometimes, while I like some of the moments of that speech that was given at SHRM 26, there's moments where it's also like, perhaps this is not the only audience that needs to hear this message, right? Yeah. There's a lot of our business partners also need to hear that message. And I mean, I work for a company where, my SVP that I supported in the Northeast, I was his business partner and director. He used to be like, I don't know how you guys do this job. Thank God we have you. It was just, he used to always say, he's like, I don't know how you listen to this stuff all day. I cannot. He did not like any of the people be people and stuff. Yeah. And that's why he valued us so much, along with all the other things we contributed from a business perspective.
Do you ever think that one is definitely retelling the story of the value of what we're doing? But the other thing too is I think that being so rigid sometimes, I think that can put people to say they're so rigid. I never can get a hire through. Right. I can't expand. I can't, I can't do this. I can't do this. And I think that good HR people can show you the options, like how we're doing that with our clients all the time. It's like, here are the options. Option A has this much risk. Option B has, greater risk. And option C is like, I wouldn't do it, but I'm just going to put 3 options on the table. And I think that maybe HR professionals need to do more of that as well, to not be so rigid and stuck in the sand about their ideas.
I agree. I mean, we go back to that.
But you wonder, that's maybe who he was talking to, those very rigid people.
The HR managers from hell.
Yeah.
The ones that are so black, the policy police. Yeah. Right? And the ones that are kind of anti.
Do that.
Because
it's not always black and white.
I went through last year and just I kind of collated all of the small to large culture building, people processes, initiatives that I've been curating and leading over now 5 years, including the year I was a consultant with Vanica. And it's a lengthy document. Yeah. And as part of it, even the skip levels that the CEO and I do, how often do we do them? What's the ROI? Do we find value? Should we continue in 2026? You know what I mean? And so it'll be iterative every year. The book clubs, the lunch and learns, the hiring an executive coach for people, the food for thoughts, which is like a lunch with a random executive leader, the 360s we have, the party once a year. We flew 400 people in last week. So all these things cost money to put on, and they sort of feel squishy, fluffy, what are we getting for this? And I went through it with basically kind of half of the board, the founder and the CEO, and it was like, do you find value? Yes or no? Yes. Okay, great. Do you find value in this? Yes or no? I recommend continuing it. I recommend stopping this. So if you can get just talking to your Claude or talking to your Chat GPT and start taking notes and start to put together your own playbook, that's kind of a nice asset to have and share.
Yeah. We at one point, when I was at Nordstrom, there was a lot of change and there was a need. We had a new CHRO, had been there probably a handful of years. This was when I was a director. It was probably the last year I was a director, maybe 2019-ish. At one of our, Seattle meetings where we pull the whole HR org together, we did a walk down memory lane. We went back 5 years and said all the initiatives of each one of those years. And a lot of them were HR, but a lot of them were business things that we supported as well. And we were in charge of rolling them out and project managing some things just because they were customer service or IT. We were still project managers on all those. And we went through all of those things and took a moment to stop and be which ones were successful, which ones were not, which ones felt too much change in the amount of year, right? And I remember the HR leadership team took that input and went back and presented it to the executive team and is like, and here's how we build our plan for the next 5 years.
And
These
they
are
got
the
the
things we
input
learned.
from other business leaders,
Right.
not from internal function.
Yeah, yeah. So we did it as the HR org, and I think the like executive leadership they brought in when they brought like regional managers. I think they did their own version of those things, but I mean, we, you know, in the regions, we were pretty honest when we would say, like, we're too focused on all these HR initiatives and we need to get back to business. Like, why we're really here is to make money.
That's right.
And we've got a little too much going on that's people-related initiatives. So we were honest because when you're in the stores, like, we hear that stuff loud and clear. But that was just a good function even, too, to say, we've done these things and we've learned from them. This is how we build strategy for the years forward. So it's that kind of that same thing. Like we wouldn't do this one again. Yeah.
Okay, let's pivot to Beth had shared an article about this woman who was apparently like a pretty popular, I'm trying to find her name. We'll drop the links in the comments. What was her name? It was a Forbes article. Anyway, she basically was like, moral of the story is she's finding emptiness. She's like an HR leader, finding emptiness being like a speaker for 10 years and like a coach. And she wanted to sort of like get dirty again. And so she joined some pretty big construction company and was like kind of saying, I'm proud of, you know, ditching sort of the brand focused me and getting back to action oriented HR, more sort of business partner leader type focus CHRO. But what's kind of funny about it was like, she's like, I'm ditching my personal brand, but it was like a Forbes article.
About
and she's
her
like,
personal
about her brand.
It's like,
But I love that. Like, we're all about the brand here. So we'll just be honest. So like, what do you, I was kind of into it. There was a part of the article that I was just like, hell yeah. And it was the part where she was saying people want to feel inspired instead of actually, when it comes to transformation and change management, instead of actually like boots on the ground, tactically managing your way through a process change, people changes. Like they just want to be inspired. They don't want to actually do anything about it. So like, to me, I kind of agree. There's a lot of consultants out there that like to come in and like our clients will spend $5,000-$10,000 a month on a business coach that is like basically trying to quarterback what we're doing. And like there's a lot of word salad and like nothingness.
Yeah.
And then you've got us who are very like GSD, get shit done. And like action-oriented leaders, which is why you're being invited to the leadership team meetings, which is why you're being asked for your input on decisions that aren't directly yours or you're accountable for. So like I see this, like it resonated with me, that part of the article, which was about like being a get her done girl and being a girl boss in that way instead of just being like an inspirational. Do you find that like women just look for the inspiration?
Yeah,
I think
I can tell a story.
I think it is.
And our audience will totally know. I was feeling a pull, right? In my life, I needed a change. And I just started like any motivational speaker. I followed them on Instagram. I started reading books. I started listening to the podcast. And these were all those people in that personal development space. I went to a Rachel Hollis conference in Toronto 2 weeks before COVID hit and the world got shut down.
And you flew there. You spent the money on a plane
to Toronto.
To be inspired.
I stayed in a hotel for 3 nights and with strangers and sat in this, this
You've never told
downtown
us
this.
center.
This is a new
Yeah.
piece of information.
And I was like, I read all her books. I was in it. You got your workbook. You were doing all the things. I mean, this is like a personal development workshop for 3 days. And this is a huge audience, 1,000 people right there, maybe more. I have no idea. I even paid for like an upgraded seat, like a VIP.
You were a line and sinker. You bought it.
I was.
You're like,
I need inspiration in my life. I need to make a change. This is how I started, right? So I did it. And I thought to myself in that room, like, how many of these people are actually going to go back and do the work and change their lives?
Yeah.
And really all
12.
the motivational and personal development people will tell you there is such a small percentage of people that actually are willing to do the hard stuff and make the change. Yeah. Everyone wants to feel good for 3 days and to dance in their seat and be like,
I cannot see you dancing in your seat.
My friends were like, have you know me, I am such I am a cynic. My thoughts are my way. I don't really buy into all that.
That is crazy.
That's how desperate I was at that point in my life. So you can tell of what was going on in my life at that point.
So it must
you made a change.
And
you were one of the 12.
Damn it, I am going to be one of the 10%.
Yeah.
I am not going to be this person that comes to these conferences and then goes back to my life that I'm not happy with. And 6 months later, I left the job. I no longer had the relationship. I mean, so much of my life changed. I moved my life because I'm like, I refuse. But they do talk about that in personal development. There's such a small percentage of people that actually take the action. So it's a lot of talk, and it's what we see all the time. Yeah, with some of these consultants that come in, and I like to think that we're not like that. We're the one that's actually coming and solving the business problems and making your life easier and doing some of the work and taking it off the plate of the business owners, versus I see a lot of consultants from like a business coach aspect that come in and just create more work for those owners to do when they're already really busy.
Well, it was funny. One of the clients that we had long ago, we were brought in as the HR consultant, but they also brought in a coach consultant. So we were kind of in tandem. And I was like,
and then we have to work directly with them.
What are you doing? He was looking at me, what are you doing? And it was one of the oddest relationships, because he was kind of just spouting out some bullshit that you would have read.
Yeah,
and
it's like a toolkit.
Yeah, if I heard the word toolkit, oh my gosh.
Put a tool in your tool belt.
It was so schmaltzy, and it was so whatever. And then I found out how much he was being paid per week, and I was like,
I should go do that.
Yeah. Like, I'm going to get a tool belt. But yeah.
Let me develop my own toolkit.
I was like, what on earth? But yeah, so I do think, and also just my other experience of owning a small business.
Yeah.
When we would, we're growing and we didn't have a ton of money, and we're like, okay, let's make this decision to bring in a consultant. And then all of a sudden they're telling you things that you already knew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're giving you a list of work to do. And I'm like, that was weird money spent.
There's no better expert on your business than you.
Yeah.
That's right.
And I'm like, you can read, I have clients sometimes that you can tell it's more of the newer businesses, and they want to grow, they want to be big, and they read all the books. And every week there's a new idea because they read a new book over the weekend. And I'm like,
you can't do that.
There's good nuggets from all of that. You could continue to do this every day, but there's no one better to figure this out than you, who are the expert of this business.
It was interesting, because then when we started to talk about maybe working with you on a consulting basis, I really wanted to know what your vision was for that, because I just didn't want to be the one that was going to be charging a ton of money and just giving them some crap to do themselves. And so I really was glad that you had the idea.
Well,
for the way that this is, because I like this.
Well, and in fact, every time that Leath HR Group engages with a client and you do an organizational assessment and basically lay out this beautiful project plan that's like, if you want to do it, here's exactly what to do. But most of the time you don't have time to do it. So like, great.
We'll do it.
You can call us.
Yeah.
We know everybody now. So yeah, I like that. Hey, we'll give you the project plan to do what you got to do.
And you can do it yourself, or we'll do it for you.
Yeah, we respect either way. But at the same time, a lot of times they don't really know how to do it or to implement it. And that's, I think, the big difference between us, is that we come in and we also implement it. Like, we're not just showing you how, we're actually doing it for you. Yeah. And that's a really big difference.
I think that's the value and the benefit.
Yeah,
for sure.
100%.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, we're talking about the HR function and is it extinct? And the answer is no, but that not only the HR
hopefully
folks,
not.
but like, I mean, when we talk about a happy life, we'll go
Yeah, I was like,
take photos.
Listen, I have many skills that I am willing to use if
like
we go
business
extinct.
coach. Well, I'll go on a speaking tour.
I think I could be some kind of influencer. I'm going to go be the personal development person that's getting crowds of thousands. Being like,
I love it. I'll come.
I'll dance in my chair.
I will too.
Inspiring.
Yeah.
But I think everybody in the business really needs to be thinking, am I adding value to in my role on my team, for my department, for this company, like be a fungible team member, like get cross-trained on something else, put yourself out there, be curious, take an extracurricular like certification. Never stop learning and continue to be that valuable employee to your business. And like, it doesn't matter if you're sitting in one seat now, you could be in another seat later if you're proving your value. So that's up to you and your career. And don't leave it up to HR because we're going extinct. So
we can't help you because we won't be here.
That's right. Anyway, if you like this, hit a like, give us a subscribe, and tell all your friends, and send us some write-ins. Nice to see you guys, and thanks for tuning in. This is HR Nightmares.